The phone didn't actually ring. Of that, I was sure. Like any typical North American human, I casually picked up my phone and scanned the notifications. We all check our phones every 15 minutes, chasing that dopamine hit from a new text or Snapchat message. But this time I was surprised. A missed call? From 20 minutes ago? That didn't make sense. My phone had been sitting right in front of me on the table, and it's impossible to miss its obnoxiously loud notification ping. It was even more surprising because my ringtone is Natalie Imbruglia's Torn, a choice I made half ironically, but it's still a banger. Curious, I checked the notification, assuming it was spam, only to see it came from my local area code with an actual name attached, Diane Vale. Weird. Usually, scam calls claiming Interpol has me on a watch list or demanding $233 via sketchy e-transfers come from private numbers. This one seemed oddly legitimate. Recently, I'd been playing small gigs and handing out music business cards like candy, so a part of me wondered if this call could be related. I decided it couldn't hurt to call back. A small, irrational what if buzzed in the back of my mind. So I hit redial. After a few rings, someone answered. "Hello?" A voice said, cautious and concerned. It was unmistakably an older woman. "Hi," I replied, a little unsure. "I think I missed a call from this number about 20 minutes ago." "Oh, is that right?" "Wow," she said, her voice weathered and hoarse. "Definitely an elderly lady. I'm so sorry. I must have misdialed, doll." "No problem at all," I thought, silently forgiving her. Even I struggle with technology sometimes. Ending the call quickly felt like the polite thing to do, but as I prepared to hang up, she continued. "I was trying to reach my husband. That's what it was. He must have a number similar to yours." "Oh, right," I said, trying to sound understanding. "Probably just a digit off. Happens all the time." Yes, exactly. I called you by mistake, so I didn't call him." Her logic felt unnecessarily over-explained, but I stayed polite. "No worries. I hope you have a wonderful day." "Thank you, dear," she said. Just as I was about to end the call, she added, "You're so sweet and tender about this." I chuckled awkwardly, said my goodbyes, and finally hung up. The interaction had been unexpectedly wholesome, sweet even. But then, a week later, her name popped up on my caller ID again. When her name popped up on my screen again a week later, I didn't feel annoyed, just confused. Natalie Imbruglia's Torn was blasting through the room again, and I answered with curiosity. "Hello," I said, wondering if this was another accidental call. There was a pause, almost as if she hadn't expected me to pick up. Then her familiar voice came through, sounding surprised but certain. "Wait, you're not Martin?" "Nope," I replied, already piecing together what this was about. "Looks like another wrong number." It took Diane a moment, but eventually she made the connection. "You must be the same woman I called last time." "Oh my, your voice sounds so clear." "Yep, it's me again," I said, smiling despite myself. "Well, goodness, you must be so annoyed with me," she exclaimed. Her voice had a mix of apology and embarrassment, as if she genuinely felt bad for bothering me twice. "Not at all," I assured her, though part of me did wonder how this mix-up happened again. "No worries, ma'am. Best of luck reaching your husband." "Oh, it's not my husband this time, actually," she said with a soft laugh. "I was trying to call my brother." I nodded to myself, though she couldn't see it. "Gotcha. Well, I hope you're able to get a hold of him. Take care," I said quickly, sensing that she might dive into another story if I didn't end the call right away. As she started to respond, I hung up, feeling a little guilty but knowing it was the right thing to do. Calls like this can spiral into long conversations if you're not careful, and I wasn't about to be pulled into her life story. Still, there was something oddly endearing about Diane. She reminded me of a sweet but slightly scatterbrained grandma who just couldn't get the hang of modern technology. That night, as I lay in bed, I started to wonder, did her husband, brother, and I all really have similar phone numbers? Or was there something else going on? It seemed unlikely that 3 people in the same family would have numbers so close that she'd keep calling me by accident. But I brushed the thought aside. People make mistakes. She was probably just one of those unlucky types who struggled with dialing correctly. 2 weeks passed, and I hadn't heard from her again. By then, I figured she had either finally managed to reach the right number or had decided to stop calling altogether. It seemed like things had gone back to normal. Until the 3rd call. This one was different. I was jolted awake at 2 a.m. by the faint sound of Natalie Imbruglia's voice. My ringtone had barely finished before the call ended. Groggily, I checked my phone, and there it was, Diane Vale. But it wasn't just one missed call. She'd called me 20 times. 20. My jaw dropped as I stared at the screen. She had been trying to reach me for over an hour while I was sound asleep. Annoyed and unsettled, I blocked her number without hesitation and went back to bed, determined to deal with this in the morning. When I woke up, my curiosity got the better of me. Despite being frustrated, I decided to listen to the voicemails she'd left. Maybe she was in trouble, or perhaps she'd dialed the wrong number again and didn't realize she'd been calling me repeatedly. But the messages weren't what I expected. Each one was the same, just the sound of her breathing. Slow, deliberate breathing, running for minutes at a time before the voicemail cut off. There were no words, no explanation, just the eerie sound of someone breathing into the phone. Occasionally, it seemed like she was about to cry, but she never did. It was unsettling, to say the least. I didn't know whether to feel creeped out or sorry for her. Maybe she was lonely and confused, unable to navigate her phone properly. I tried to rationalize it. Old people and technology just don't mix, right? Still, it left me with a sinking feeling in my stomach. I told myself it wasn't a big deal and tried to move on. Surely, blocking her number would mean this was the end of it. But I couldn't shake the thought of those voicemails, the way her breathing filled the silence, heavy and almost deliberate, as if she wanted me to hear it. For the next couple of months, life returned to normal. Diane's calls had stopped entirely after I blocked her number, and I was starting to think she'd finally given up. Sure, every now and then I'd get a weird, uneasy feeling when I thought about those voicemails, but overall, I convinced myself it was just a strange coincidence. Then, one day, as I was waiting for a call from a friend, my phone started ringing. Without thinking, I picked it up. The moment I saw the name on the screen, my heart sank. Diane Vale. But it wasn't just the name that caught my attention, it was the number. It was completely different this time, not even close to my local area code. Somehow, she'd changed her number to bypass being blocked. My frustration turned into something closer to panic. How was she still managing to reach me? Against my better judgment, I answered. I don't know what's going on, I snapped, but you really need to stop calling me. There was a pause on the other end, followed by her voice, soft and pleading. I'm completely alone. Her words threw me off. She wasn't apologetic or confused this time, just desperate. I'm alone, she said again, her voice trembling. My husband, my brother, my family, they're all gone. I have no one left. I just need someone to talk to. Please. I hesitated, unsure how to respond. I felt a twinge of pity for her, but at the same time, I was furious. What kind of person keeps calling a stranger because they're lonely? I'm sorry to hear that, I said cautiously, but that doesn't excuse. Just one conversation, she interrupted, her voice growing more insistent. Just one meaningful conversation. After that, you'll never hear from me again. I promise. Her words lingered in the air. Part of me wanted to hang up and block this new number immediately. But another part of me, the part that hated confrontation, decided to humor her. If 10 minutes of listening could get her to leave me alone for good, it was worth it, right? Fine, I said reluctantly. But just this once. Thank you, she whispered, sounding genuinely grateful. She began to talk, softly at first, like someone recalling a distant memory. It feels like I've always been alone, she said. But I can still remember a time when my life was full of laughter, company and joy. It's strange to think about now, but there were moments when I even felt overwhelmed by how many people were around me. Can you imagine that? Feeling like there was too much connection, too much life? I nodded, though she couldn't see me. I can imagine, I said, trying to keep the conversation moving. But now, she continued, her voice cracking, there's nothing. No one. It's just me and the silence and the memories. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but something about her tone unsettled me. There was a heaviness to her words, like she wasn't just reminiscing, she was trying to drag me into her loneliness. Have you tried reaching out to anyone? I asked, hoping to steer the conversation into more practical territory. Old friends, neighbors, anyone like that? She sighed deeply. I've tried, she said, but they never answer. They're all gone now, one way or another. That's really tough, I said, feeling like I was stating the obvious. But maybe you could try making new friends? Joining a community group or something? Her response was immediate, almost too eager. Yes, she said. I'd love to make new friends. That's why I'm so grateful you answered. I froze. Something about the way she said that sent a chill down my spine. I tried to brush it off, telling myself she was just being overly dramatic. Well, I hope you're able to find what you're looking for, I said, trying to wrap things up. But I really need to. She cut me off again, her voice suddenly sharper. Do you believe in second chances? What? Second chances, she repeated. Do you believe that people who've lost everything deserve another chance at life? I guess so. I stammered, unsure where this was going. That's good, she said, her tone softening again. Because I think everyone deserves one. Don't you? Her words hung in the air, heavy with an unspoken meaning. I didn't know how to respond, so I mumbled something vague. Yeah, I guess everyone deserves another shot. Exactly, she said, her voice brimming with an eerie enthusiasm. It's what keeps me going. The hope that one day, I'll have a second chance. A real chance to live again. I tried to shake off the strange chill running up my spine. Well, that's a positive way to look at it, I said, forcing a neutral tone. As she spoke, I felt the atmosphere in the room shift. The air seemed colder somehow, heavier. It was subtle, but enough to make me uneasy. I leaned against the bathroom counter, placing my phone on speaker so I could multitask while she rambled on. Sometimes I dream about it, she continued, about walking outside on a sunny day, hearing the chatter of people, the laughter of children, feeling the warmth of the sun on my skin. Her voice became wistful, almost hypnotic. Do you ever think about how wonderful those small moments are? Sure, I said, though I wasn't really paying attention. Something about her tone had shifted again, and I was starting to feel unsettled. I glanced at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, and that's when I noticed something strange. My free hand was moving, slowly, almost delicately, brushing through my hair in a way I didn't recognize. I wasn't doing it consciously. I froze, staring at my reflection. Why am I muttered under my breath, pulling my hand away. Are you still there? She asked, her voice soft and innocent. Yeah, I'm here, I said quickly, trying to ignore the weird feeling in my chest. Sorry, just distracted? Oh, that's all right, she replied. It's hard to focus sometimes, isn't it? Hard to stay in control. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I turned my attention back to the mirror, watching as my hand moved again, this time tracing the edge of my cheek. It was slow, deliberate, and completely out of my control. What the hell? I whispered. What's wrong? She asked, her tone laced with concern, or something that sounded like concern. Nothing, I lied, trying to keep my voice steady. Just tired, I guess. She chuckled softly, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. It's okay to feel tired, she said. You've been carrying so much, haven't you? Her words were too pointed, too knowing. I didn't like it. I didn't like any of this. Look, I said firmly, I think we're done here. I really need to go. But we've only just started, she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "I've been waiting so long for this moment. For someone like you. Someone who could help me." I didn't let her finish. My hand shot toward the phone, but before I could hang up, I froze. My hands, they weren't moving the way I wanted them to. It was as if some invisible force was guiding them, keeping me from ending the call. "What's happening?" I muttered, panic rising in my throat. "Don't fight it," she said, her voice calm and soothing. "This is meant to happen. You'll see." Her words filled me with dread. My body felt heavy, sluggish, like I was losing control. And then she spoke again, her voice cutting through my fear like a knife. "I'm almost there." "What does that mean?" I demanded, my voice shaking. She didn't answer. Instead, I felt a pressure in my chest, a strange, foreign sensation, like something was trying to push its way in. The pressure in my chest grew stronger, heavier, until it felt like I could barely breathe. I gritted my teeth, trying to will my body to move, to fight back against whatever was happening. But I was paralyzed, trapped in my own skin, my own mind. "Stop," I growled, my voice barely above a whisper. "Get out of me." But Diane didn't stop. Her voice came through the phone, growing louder, more insistent. "You're almost ready. I can feel it. Just a little more and we'll both be free." "Free from what?" I managed to choke out. She laughed softly, a sound that sent a fresh wave of terror through me. "From the void," she said simply. "From the nothingness. You're my way back." My hands moved again, without my consent. They pressed against the countertop, gripping it tightly as if to steady me. I could see myself in the mirror, my eyes wide with fear, my body trembling. "No," I muttered, forcing the word through clenched teeth. "This isn't happening." "It already is," she whispered. "And it's beautiful, isn't it? The way it feels to let go." Rage surged through me, momentarily overpowering the fear. "I'm not letting go," I shouted. With a sudden burst of strength, I yanked my hands away from the counter and slammed one against the phone, ending the call. But it wasn't over. The phone immediately began ringing again, Diane's name flashing on the screen. I hit decline, but before I could even take a breath, it started ringing again. And again. And again. "Leave me alone," I screamed, my voice echoing through the bathroom. But the calls didn't stop. Each one interrupted the last, her name appearing over and over, like a relentless drumbeat in my mind. Desperation took over. I grabbed the phone and hurled it to the floor, watching as the screen cracked. Then, without thinking, I snatched the hammer from under the sink and brought it down hard. The phone shattered under the force of the blow, pieces flying across the bathroom floor. I hit it again and again, until there was nothing left but a pile of broken glass and plastic. For a moment, there was silence. I stood there, panting, staring at the remains of my phone. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye, disheveled, wild-eyed, with streaks of blood where I'd unknowingly scratched my own face. Then I heard it, a faint, muffled sound, coming from the pile of debris at my feet. I dropped the hammer and took a shaky step back as the sound grew louder. It was her voice, Diane's voice, echoing from the broken phone. "You can't get rid of me that easily," she said, her tone calm but menacing. I stumbled out of the bathroom, my heart pounding, my mind racing. I didn't stop until I was outside, standing barefoot in the driveway, clutching the hammer like a lifeline. The next few hours passed in a blur. I drove to a nearby store, bought a cheap flip phone, and activated a new number. The thought of being unreachable, even for a little while, brought a flicker of relief. But the nightmares started that same night. They were vivid, more real than any dream I'd ever had. In each one, I was standing at the edge of a vast, black void, staring into the nothingness. And there, in the distance, was Diane. She was always smiling, always waving as if inviting me to join her. And the worst part? Sometimes, in the dream, I'd feel my hand rise. I'd feel myself wave back.